Hey, what's up guys? Coming here from snowy Pennsylvania at my cabin. And my cabin has to do with this video a little bit. Long-term wilderness living. Like, what do we need to think about? What kind of provisions do we need? It's something I get asked all the time, so we're gonna talk about it today, here. So I think it's important to understand when I say long-term wilderness living, what we're actually talking about. So being a survival instructor and an outdoor skills instructor, I look at long-term wilderness living as part 3. Part 1, short-term emergency survival, okay? So up to about a week, things that you need for that: fire, shelter, and water. Okay, now you notice I didn't add food into that because really if you have fire, shelter, and water, you can sustain yourself for a short time if you're lost or if you get misplaced in the woods for a little bit or you get injured without food. So as long as you're warm, you're drinking some fluids, and you're gonna be good to go. Hopefully. So from week 2 out then, that's when I start to think about that mid-length survival, okay? At that time, we really not only need fire, shelter, water, but we also need food. We need to start giving our bodies some fuel. So we're out, we're looking for that. But in that type of scenario that we're lost or stranded, in that mid-length type scenario, we're also thinking about how to navigate out, how to get ourselves out of this bad situation. So we're working towards that. Long-term wilderness living, on the other hand, we're really not dealing with a lot of that stuff on the front end because we're purposefully going out to live long-term off the land, and it requires different things. Now when I say it requires different things, it requires different gear, and that's what we're really focused here on this video about. So we still need to meet those survival priorities, right? Fire, water, shelter, food. We still need those things to live just as you live at home, but if we are going out longer term, if it's in your case a bug out, if you're a more prepared minded type person, or if you are going out to a remote hunting camp for a longer extended amount of time, what do you actually need? Well, still think about those survival priorities. You just need special things to go along with them. So let's start with shelter. So shelter is going to be what you are going to live in. So it might be a yurt, it might be a wall tent, it might be a cabin, it might be a vacation home, it might be something, or it should be something of more stability than something like a tarp or just a small little tent. So that's a pretty easy one, right? Because we're already headed in that situation. So let's check that one off the list. So that's our shelter. Now, what about fire? So honestly, just 2 things to really secure as much firewood as you're ever going to need: a nice big Bowsaw and a heavier bit axe, okay? This is, the handle's cut down a little bit, but this will allow us to cut down bigger trees, split firewood, and also cut firewood to length. So with just those 2 additions to your long-term regiment, you can really easily keep yourself warm and be able to cook your food and do everything else because you're gonna have ample supplies of firewood. It just requires a little bit of muscle to go along with that, but that's on my list. That's my recommendation for firewood. So next thing is water. Now I can tell you from personal experience, longer term, a lot of water you're gonna be going through, not only to drink and cook, but also to bathe and just wash yourself, keep your hands clean, tools clean, sometimes wash your clothing, all that. So taking a small pot or a water bottle and just boiling that and dumping into something else becomes such a hassle. So recommendations for water on that long-term wilderness living: huge pot, okay? This takes a while to boil, but once it's boiled, then you can dump it into something else. Then you can boil this again, large quantity. So we're literally doing the same thing we would do at our personal little camp with the water bottle, just on a bigger scale. Now next is food. Food is going to be super important. We don't want to just get by. We want to have some surplus. We want to have some surplus of calories and not stress that we don't have a next meal, okay? So when we think about longer term, we want to make sure that we have good, solid equipment to get the job done. So we want to think about fishing because fishing is going to be one of the easiest ways. So we should have hooks, maybe a fishing pole, extra line, bobbers, all that stuff for fishing that's going to make life really easy for us there. Because making primitive equipment, not good in these type of scenarios. You also might want to think about having a firearm for hunting small and large game, and then also possibly having some traps, because these things, when you set them out for medium-sized game, work when you're not even there. Now that's all great, right? Because I'm a firm believer that you should be doing that stuff. So actively hunting, you should be trapping, fishing to secure food, but there's times that stuff just doesn't work out. So what I'm also real passionate about is having food supplies. 5-gallon buckets can be your friend, right? Dried goods such as pasta, beans, rice can be stocked in these and held long term, so you have supplies when you don't have any other food source that you were able to secure. This alone will bring peace of mind and happiness to you, knowing that you always have some type of meal if everything else fails. And let's face it, if you don't have food to eat, or you don't know when you're going to eat next, that raises your stress level and it causes problems throughout everything. So it's very important that you stockpile some food and have that with you for those days that nothing else works out. If the weather's really bad and the animals aren't moving, or you are unable to go out and hunt or fish that day, and there's nothing in your traps, you can still make yourself a meal. All right, now the fifth thing a lot of people are going to be happy about, because they ask me all the time about it, and I say I don't carry one, okay? And that's a first aid kit. A first aid kit in a long-term wilderness living situation is extremely important. Now, just to get this out of the way, trauma-based needs. So if you cut your foot off with an axe somehow, okay, you're probably not going to be able to fix that. Well, how about this? You're not going to be able to fix that in the field. Other than putting a tourniquet on, you're in for a bad day. So I want to eliminate that stuff. That is something that you need to be careful with, but it's not something you'll be able to fix in the field, unfortunately. But other things that we commonly see happen are cuts, burns, sprains, and infections. And all of that stuff we can handle. So when you decide to pack up your medical kit, think about those 4 components. So with cuts, you know, we're looking at gauzes, band-aids, and stuff like that. Burns, burn cream, burn dressings. Sprains, we're looking at ace bandages, SAM splints, stuff like that. Again, you can research all that stuff online to find out what would be best for your kit, and just make sure you have ample supplies of it. Now, the last part of that is your infections. Infections just aren't going to heal themselves. They're just not going to magically get fixed. So it's important that we have some type of antibiotic to take care of this stuff. Now, this can be anything from a tick bite to a cut that got infected to possibly eating bad meat or drinking bad water. Now, when it comes to those infections, antibiotics are great, okay? They are going to help you. The problem is a lot of people think, well, how am I going to get antibiotics? What antibiotics should I have? So Jase Medical, they can supply you with emergency antibiotics. You go online. I'm going to put the link below because this is actually pretty cool. So you go on, you tell them if you have any allergies to anything, if you have any prescription medications that you need to keep yourself alive, and then they can prescribe you medicines. So in our case, we have erythromycin, which is a Z-Pack. We have all the kind of stuff. Doxycycline, so if we get a tick bite, we have amoxicillin, we have Cipro, so we have all different medications here to handle different things, and then we also get a booklet that tells us what those medications will cover. So if you're sick from a waterborne illness, you can take what they prescribe here and get that stuff cleared up. Super important. You just don't realize how quick something like that can come on and how debilitating that can be. So I'm going to put the link for this below because I know people have questions about this, but this is a great addition to your medical kit. So that's it. That's today's video here at the cabin. I'm going to go play out in the woods now, and I guess that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Click the link below if you're interested in antibiotic stuff, and I'm going to list out all the gear that I think you should have too, so that's all below. And then yeah, that's it. Check us out at Coalcracker, bushcraft.com, and until next video, stay in the woods.